All right, like I said this is a 3 days data analytics program, a 3 days free program. But if you want a certificate at the end of the day, you have to pay a token to get the certificate. So nobody is charging you for anything. You're welcome to take the course. Again, apologies for starting the program late than expected. We had some technical issues we had to sort out, but I'm glad we are here once again to carry on with the training. So, like I said, my name is Ifan Ichuku Onyechere. I based in the southeast part of Nigeria. I have at least 5 years of experience in data analytics. I studied economics actually, but that is not something we should be talking today. So I studied economics, and in the past 5 years, I've trained at least up to 1,000 students in data analytics, data entry, and possibly data engineering. So aside data analytics, I also do data engineering. So data entry, data analytics, data engineering, that's what I do. I work with government to train people on a empowerment program. I also work with companies who contract me to work with them to train their students. So it's something I've been doing over the years. I'm not new to data analytics. At the end of the training, I can also share you my LinkedIn profile, which you can go also and see my experience over there. So today is basically talking about data. Today we're talking basically about data. Like I said, most of you, the reason why you jumped into data is because you have been hearing that data is the new oil. Many companies are looking for data analytics. Companies are looking for AI engineers. Companies are looking for data scientists. That's the reason why you're jumping to become a data scientist or data analyst. Some of you also might want to become an analyst because maybe your friend told you that there's enough money in this industry, that the industry has enough money when it comes to data careers, that is data analytics, data science, data engineering, or machine learning. You also maybe wanted to jump into a data career, possibly because you have an interest in machine learning or AI, but you are being told that you have to start with data analytics or data entry before you get to AI, and which is the truth. You don't just jump from maybe just a computer operator to begin doing AI or machine learning or data science without following a guided path. So also the aim of this bootcamp is not only to introduce you to data analytics and what revolves around it, but also to give you a guided path on what to choose, how to start your career journey if you're someone who is starting early in the career journey. So we give you a guided path on how to start your career journey. So let's start with the term data. You have been hearing about data, data, data every time. What is this data? What exactly is this data we are talking about? You have heard about data, data in data analytics, data in data science, data in machine learning, data in data engineering. What is this data all about? So the term data basically refers to collection of facts, information, and statistics that are represented in the form that can be processed, stored, and then communicated. And it can be in many forms. Now, the data you're seeing is not only when you get an Excel file or when you have a file in your database. No, data can come in several forms. It can be in form of images. It can be in form of audio. It can be in form of a video. So your video file can serve as data. Your wedding video is data. The music of your favorite musician is data. The write-up you wrote in an exercise book and you stored in a file is data. Your image is also data. So data comes in many forms. But when you now process that data, when you process that data, you refine it, it now becomes information. So data is just like a raw material that when you now process it and try to get meaning out of it, it becomes information and knowledge is now derived from it. But at the starting point, you always talk about data, but that's where information and knowledge comes out from. So whenever you hear the term data, just know that it's just a collection of facts, observations that are represented in what? In a form that can be processed, stored, and communicated. Now, this data that we have, in which places can we store this data? this data we have, in which places can we store this data? Because you can't talk about data analytics, you can't talk about data engineering, you can't talk about data science without starting from the foundation, which is data. You need to start from data. You need to start talking about data first of all before you start even thinking of a career to go into, whether data analytics, data science, or data engineering. So where do you store this data that you have gotten? Your data is in, you have gotten your data. Where do you store this data exactly? Now, these are some of the places where you can store this data. You can store data in a CSV file. CSV stands for comma separated value. You can store this data in an Excel file. So if you are good with Excel or Google Sheets, that's also a way where you can store this data. Data can be the record of students in your class if you're a school teacher. It can be a record of goods you sold in a month, or your daily transactions if maybe you're a business owner. It could also be daily bank transactions that you carry on. Maybe you're someone that does daily transaction with bank, so you can have an Excel file or a CSV file or a sheet where you record all these transactions. At the end of the month, you now sit down to look at your transactions. That thing is called data, because without that particular document, you won't understand how you did your transaction, daily transaction, weekly transaction, or monthly transactions. So with that document, you're not able to sit down and understand how your transaction went by in the past week or the past month, to know whether you need to make some adjustments or you need to carry on with what you're doing. Your data can be stored in videos. When people say they have a video evidence, that is what? That is data. When you now sit down and watch the video, you now get information and knowledge from it. But at that instant, it is still data, because people have not yet processed the video to get information and knowledge from it. So these are places where we can store our data. Also in a database. I know most of you might be hearing about SQL. So SQL is just basically structured query language. Structured query language. Just simply a language that you use to communicate with data stored in a database. Because most companies now are no longer using CSV files, Excel files, videos, or images to store their data. They now use what is called a database to store data. Because this CSV, Excel, JSON, videos, and images, they are prone to attacks. They are not really secured with enough security. You know, in this age of AI now, there is high rate of cybersecurity attacks everywhere. Companies are at risk of having their information being leaked to the public. So these forms of storage, CSV, Excel, videos, and images are no longer feasible in the modern age. So companies now adopt what is called database storage. Companies now adopt what is called a database storage. So they use database to store their data. Now, when you now want to communicate with that data stored inside the database, you now use SQL, which is structured query language. We will still look at all those things in the course of our bootcamp. Now, this data we are working with, how is it? In what form does it come? The data you're working with, in what form does this data come? We have the structured data, we have the semi-structured data, and we have the unstructured data. Data comes in different forms. So in which form is your data in? Is it structured? Is it semi-structured? Or is it unstructured? Now, if you have used Excel before or Google Sheets, you have worked with what is called a structured data. If you have experience working with Excel files, those rows and column A, column B, column C, row 1, row 2, row 3, you have worked with structured data. What it basically means is that the data has a defined structure. You're seeing the structure as it is. If you look at the data, you're seeing column A, column B, column C. You're seeing row 1, row 2, row 3. The data has a definite structure. So if you have had experience working with Google Sheets or Excel, that is an example of a structured data. For semi-structured data, you might have heard something about JSON, JavaScript object notation. You might have heard about XML, extensible markup language. We'll see it at the course of this training, because the data you have determines how you import it into your Excel software or Power BI software. Because we know that Excel and Power BI are mostly the tools or softwares you use as a data analyst. So when your data comes in Excel file, or it comes in XML file, or it comes in JSON file, how do you import it into those softwares? Your data stored on a website, let's say Wikipedia, can also serve as semi-structured data. It does not have a fixed structure. It does not have a fixed structure. It has a structure, but the structure is not fixed. The structure it can change at any time. That's what we mean by semi-structured. It has some structure, but the structure is not fixed. So take note of the 5 formats I've mentioned there. I mentioned JSON, I mentioned XML. So JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. We have HTML, which is Hypertext Markup Language. These are the format of data that are classified under semi-structured data. But for structured data, you have your Excel file, you can have your CSV file also. So these are data that comes under structured data. They have a fixed structure. Now for unstructured data, this is where you now start seeing your PDF file. Your PDF files can serve as unstructured data. Inside your PDF, there is data inside that PDF. That's why you're reading through that PDF file. Your videos, your images, these are examples of unstructured data. The email address you receive, these are examples of unstructured data. They don't have any definite structure, but you're seeing it, you're reading it, but you can't really say that this is the structure of this data. So that is what we mean by unstructured data. So we have structured data, semi-structured data, and unstructured data. So that is the forms that our data always comes into: structured data, semi-structured, and unstructured data. Now we want to talk about the difference between a data engineer, data scientist, and data analyst. So we want to talk about difference between a data engineer, data scientist, and data analyst, because I know you might have heard about these career paths. So let's classify this difference. Because I think yesterday, someone from the group chatted me up and was asking me, "Sir, please, what's the difference between data engineer, data scientist, or data analyst? I want to be a data scientist. I don't know how to go about it." So let's try to classify this career path so you know where to begin and where you maybe want to proceed going forward. So a data engineer is basically someone that builds a data pipeline and builds your data infrastructure. Whenever you hear the term data engineer, they are basically those in charge of building your data pipeline and data infrastructure. Now, let me explain what I mean by data pipeline and data infrastructure. Normally, when data comes into an organization, the data scientists and data analysts are not aware of that data. It is the data engineer that is in charge of connecting to that data that is coming into the organization and making sure that that data is in a format that a scientist and a data analyst can understand. Remember, we talked about semi-structured data and unstructured data. Now, let's say that this data came to the organization as an unstructured data. It came into the company as an unstructured data. So the data engineer is the first point of contact to that data. The data engineer will look at that data, assess it, and try to standardize that data in a way that the data scientists and data analysts can understand that particular data. So that is the work of the data engineer. They build data infrastructure and data pipeline. That is what a data engineer does. He builds a data engine, he builds a data pipeline and data infrastructure. For a data scientist, they build what is called a model. They build what is called a model. For a data scientist, they build what is called a model. So when you hear about a predictive analysis, which we will still look into, they forecast. So a data scientist is someone that mostly forecasts into the future. Using the present information, they forecast into the future. That's why it's called a scientist, data scientist. Using data available to them, they now try to predict the future and know what will happen. And that form of prediction is where they do what is called data model. They model their data. They model their data. That's what is called a data scientist. Now, for the data analyst, this is just basically where we are. We are just doing what is called historical analysis, or what we call descriptive analysis. So you're just basically getting data from historical records and trying to make sense of that data. You get data from historical records and try to make sense of that data. Let's say the data for ShopRite from 2010 to 2020. Now that's a 10 years period. Now you want to use that data to understand how ShopRite has been doing in the last 10 years. Now, if ShopRite wants to know how it will do, how it will function, or how it will navigate the current situation of the country, they will now bring in a data scientist to help them model and forecast into the future, to know how business will be using current data. So the data engineer, data scientist, data analyst are the three major career paths when you want to talk about data. We have the other one which is called a database administrator, but that one is just basically dealing with database. They are not really a major career when it comes to data, but these three are basically where people focus on. They normally start from data analysts. So when you start from a data analyst, you can now decide whether you want to navigate towards data engineering or data scientist, because most of the things that you still do in data engineering and data science are being taught at the data analyst level. Now you want to use Python. A data analyst, a data scientist uses Python. A data engineer uses Python. You can also learn Python at the data analyst level. So a scientist uses Python, an engineer uses Python. You want to learn SQL. A scientist uses SQL, an engineer also uses SQL. But if you learn it at the data analyst level, you realize that when it is time to switch career to either the scientist or an engineer, it becomes easier for you. So what you know that you have your foundations already grounded. You have your foundations grounded. What you just need to focus on now is to learn the advanced concepts. And it's very, very important that you have your fundamentals right. You don't just jump your fundamentals, because every advanced concept builds upon that fundamentals. So let's say, for example, in data analysis, you are learning about data modeling. You're learning about data modeling as an analyst. Now, if you skip learning about data modeling and you don't understand the basics in data modeling, when you get to the level of a data engineer, it will come back to haunt you, because that is basically what a data engineer, half of their work is mostly on data modeling. Because when they are trying to build that pipeline and design that data infrastructure, they will model data. I don't go deep into what is called data modeling, but you can still browse about it or research about it. So this is the three major career paths in data. Data engineer, who is responsible for building your data pipeline and data infrastructure. The data scientist, who is in charge of modeling data and doing predictive analysis, that they predict into the future to understand how business will perform. So an example of a data scientist, you know, this weather forecast people. So these are data scientists. So they'll say it will rain tomorrow, the sun will shine tomorrow. all these earthquake specialists, they will tell you when an earthquake will happen in a particular locality, so that people will move. So all these are examples of a data scientist. Please, if you're coming in, please mute your mic so you don't disturb others, please. Please, when you come in, mute your mic so you don't disturb others, please. Thank you. I know some of you might still be on the way coming back, but always be conscious of your microphone, please. So we have explained these three major disciplines in data. It always starts from the data analyst. I'm not saying you can't be a data engineer, you just wake up and say, okay, I want to learn about data engineering. I'm not saying you cannot. I'm not saying you cannot become a data scientist, but it becomes harder for you if you go to that route. It becomes harder for you when you go to that route. You always start from a data analyst. Before you walk, you must learn to crawl. Before you go for a master's or your PhD, you have to at least do your BSc or your HND before you can now decide to go for master's or your PhD. Not saying that you can't just do, and there's some schools that can allow you give some documents and you move straight to your master's if that is possible. But you realize that when you get there, it now becomes difficult for you to adapt, because when they are teaching some concepts which you are meant to learn at the beginner's level, you missed learning such concepts, and because of that, it is now difficult for you to adapt. So when you want to start your career in data, please always look towards the data analyst side. After your 3 months or 4 months program, and you have learned enough and you have practiced enough, you can now decide, okay, I now want to make progress in my career. I now want to make a progress shift in what I'm doing. Let me look towards data science. Let me look towards data engineering. Let me look towards machine learning or AI. It now becomes easier for you to flow along. So let's talk about this data analysis and data analytics, because this is one thing that mostly confuses some people, and it is being used interchangeably. Data analysis versus data analytics. Now, data analysis, basically, in simple terms, is just using data to make informed decisions. Data analysis is just basically using data stored in your Excel file, data stored in your database, data stored in your video files, in your music files, to make informed decisions. So you get that data, you look at it, you extract it, you process it, it becomes information to you. You now use it to make decisions. That is basically what we mean by data analysis. We're trying to analyze data to understand what is hidden inside it, because data has some hidden meaning, some hidden findings inside it. So your work as an analyst is to look into that data set and extract meaning out of it. That is data analysis. Basically using data to make informed decisions. The reason why I said informed, you can use it to make decisions, but the reason why I added informed there, because the informed means you're using it to make the right decisions. That's why I'm putting informed decision right there. So data analytics now refers to the process, the tools that is being used to perform data analysis. The data analysis is just using data to make informed decisions. But data analytics is the process, the steps, the tools that is being used to perform data analysis. So in data analytics, you have steps, you have process you follow. You don't just get data and start interpreting it and start looking into it. No, there are some steps you follow, which we'll still look at. You follow a steps. When you have the data that is being given to you, you don't just jump and start saying column A, column B has this and this. Because of that, I will interpret as this. No, there are some steps you follow. There's some process you have to take into consideration. There are some tools you need to bring into consideration. Should I use Excel? Should I use Power BI? Should I use SQL? Should I use Python? So these are considerations you need to bring into the process that will help you conduct data analysis. So people use it interchangeably, but it is not the same. So when you see people selling their programs and they're telling you that they are doing data analysis, that means they don't really understand what they are doing. They don't understand what they are saying, rather. It's meant to be data analytics because you will learn the steps, you will learn the process, you will learn the tools that you will use to perform data analysis. What you do as an analyst, but using data analytics, that is the steps, the tools, the process. So this is, so anytime you hear data analysis and data analytics, please don't confuse yourself. Even though that, yes, people use it interchangeably. Even experts will tell you that it doesn't matter. You can use anyone, doesn't matter. Yes, sometimes it doesn't matter, depending on your level of expertise. Sometimes this thing doesn't matter. When you start working professionally and start being an expert, you can just use it interchangeably. After all, you're an expert, nobody cares. But at this stage, you need to understand the difference. So when you're trying to say something, at least you know where you're coming from and where you're going. So just know that data analysis and data analytics are two different things. The analysis is using data to make decisions, to make informed decisions. Analytics now brings in the process, the procedures, the steps, the tools that you use to perform data analysis. That is the analytics. So before we continue, do anyone have any question? Let's not be the one talking here alone. Does anyone here have any question that you want me to address?
What you just did now is actually the first question on my list, and you've answered it even before I asked. Thank you, sir.
You mean the data analysis and data analytics?
Virtual data analytics. Exactly.
Okay. Okay. So I believe I answered you correctly well.
You did. You did. But because I was wondering that why did you say data analytics? What I'm aware of is data analysis. And whoever
All
is
right.
doing the job is a data analyst. So
Yeah.
what's with data analytics again?
Oh,
But I
okay.
think I like the fact that you addressed it before it was asked. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. So anyone else have any question, anything at all? Just say, like I said, this is a boot camp. This is your opportunity to ask any question at all that have been bothering you. Sometimes we are always, would I say, shy to do a public post on social media to ask questions. So here now is a closed house. So this is an in-house meeting. We are like a family member here. So don't feel shy. Nobody's seeing your face. After here, nobody will see you again or even see your name. So don't feel shy to ask your question. Just ask it out. And if I know it, I'll answer it. If I don't know it, I'll say I don't know it, but I'll still answer you. Because nobody knows it all. Even if I don't know it, I'll still address you later in the group. But don't feel shy to ask your question. This opportunity to clear yourself out in anything that has to do with data analysis and data analytics. So you don't go out there confusing yourself. It also help you build a nice career path. So if you have a question, just unmute yourself and ask. Don't wait for me to ask. Do you have a question? Just unmute yourself and ask your question. Thank you.
Okay, this is not a question, so we can have the I think the messaging app is not working, where we can be able
Uh,
to type in what we have in mind.
Let me
I don't
see,
know if
please.
you
Let me.
check that.
It's working. It's working. You can type. It's working.
It's not working yet. It said we are having trouble loading your message. Try refreshing. I try refreshing and still.
I just sent a message in the chat now. I just sent a hello there. Can anyone confirm that it's working for their own?
On my end, it says don't show chat
Working
bubbles.
as
So
well.
that means it's been
It's
locked,
not working.
kind of.
All right, please let me escalate this to my team members, please.
Thank you.
Let me escalate to my team members, please. Please give me a moment, please. Just 2 minutes. Let me escalate this to my team members. All right. Hopefully they will have escalated it. Hopefully they will attend to me. So let's continue why they look into it, please. So we don't. So now let's get down to the next part, which is types of data analysis. Remember, I've explained the difference between data analytics and data analysis. So you're doing data analysis as a data analyst. So a data analyst conducts data analysis using data analytics. So the tools, process, frameworks, and procedures is data analytics. So now coming to data analysis, what are the types of data analysis that you perform? Because you're trying to make informed decision. So what are those informed decisions you are trying to perform? So the first one on my list here is descriptive analysis. Descriptive analysis. Or you can call it historical analysis. So in historical analysis, they perform what, let's just say that they ask a question of what happened in the past. What exactly happened? Because you know what, when you're dealing with history, you're always asking what happened. When you're dealing with things that happened in the past, you're always asking what happened. So descriptive analysis basically is asking the question, what happened? Company XYZ reported a loss of 10 billion naira for last year. We are asking what happened. Is it that they had a new competitor? Or is it that their product failed market test? So this is what analysts in the descriptive part always conduct. They are trying to understand what happened in the past. That's where we bring in historical analysis. And as an analyst, this is where you have our domain. An analyst always work majorly on the descriptive part of this analysis. For an analyst, data analyst, because you're working majorly with historical data. Though sometimes you might have a project requirement that forces you to work as a scientist, maybe doing forecasting and everything, but you're not a full scientist. So your knowledge is limited to some particular frameworks or tools or setup. But as a full-blown analyst, you always work with historical data and it falls under descriptive analysis. What happened in the past? What happened 2 years ago? What happened during the last election? You're doing historical analysis. Now, for diagnostic analysis, we are asking the question, how did it happen? You're trying to diagnose the situation. So just like a patient going to the hospital when he or she is sick. So the doctor tried to diagnose you. So that's diagnostic analysis. How did it happen? What did you eat last night? So the doctor asked, what did you eat last night? Where, what and what did you eat? How did you prepare your food? They're trying to know what led to that particular outcome. What led to you being sick? What led to you having a running stomach? So what led to company XYZ not performing well in the last quarter? How did it happen? That is the diagnostic part of a data analysis. For predictive, this is where you see the data scientists. This is where they come in. So the data scientists come into the predictive analysis. They're asking what will happen. What will happen in the next 10 years? They're trying to forecast into the future. Access Bank reported a profit of 10 billion for last quarter. So for this year and next year, what will happen? MTN reported a loss of 10 billion last year. So for this year and next year, what will happen? So this is where they start building models. They start running regressions to understand what will happen in the future, in the next 2 years, in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years. There was a snow. Let's say there was snow in a part of Nigeria. I know we don't have snow here. there was snow in a part of Nigeria here. Now people are trying to understand, okay, since there was snow in this part of Nigeria last week, what will happen in other parts of the country? Since we noticed snow in one part of the country. So the event has not happened yet, but you want to know what will happen when that day arrives. That is the predictive part of analysis. And this is where you find majorly the data scientists. The prescriptive part is where we now ask what should be done. So what should we do? What should we do to alleviate this particular problem? We have understood what happens. We have understood how it happens. Now we have also understood what will happen in the next 5 years. Now we're not asking what should we do. Now the managers, the executives, the decision makers, the stakeholders have not sat down at the round table. They're not asking you what will happen. They have flagged this event as a red event. So just like, this is the age of AI now. Companies are being disrupted with AI. Something that your company is doing, all of a sudden, AI is doing it. So stakeholders need to sit down on the table and ask themselves what should be done. Because if they don't ask themselves that question, they will obviously go out of the market. So that is the prescriptive. We're trying to prescribe what should be done. So this is we have another one that is the cognitive. That is where you have AI and machine learning, but I do not want to bring it into the picture. So as we don't overstress it. But if you research more, you can see the one called cognitive analytics. That is where you try to bring AI, trying to bring a human understanding, a machine understanding, and try to mix it together to get information. That is those in AI and machine learning. Those are those who use the cognitive part of analysis. But these four are the major ones you will always see, because an analyst or a scientist will always find themselves revolving around this analysis: descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, or prescriptive. I think I have had a project before that I did that I almost found myself doing a predictive analysis. That was the hackathon that my group did, the group I belong to. I was doing a descriptive analysis. All of a sudden, I saw myself doing predictive, and I now realized that I had limited knowledge in data science. We now had to go and bring in a scientist, because we thought that maybe I and the data engineer can do the work. But at the end of the day, we found out that work required some prediction to be done. And since I had limited knowledge in that aspect, we now had to bring in a scientist to help us. Because the tools you use as an analyst is different from the tools a scientist will use. An analyst, your tools revolve around Excel, Power BI, W, SQL, and a little bit of Python. For those of us who love to program, but not always around Python. The core of your work is Excel. If you now want to do fancy design, you want to do fancy dashboard, your bar chart, your pie chart, you now bring in W or Power BI into the picture. SQL is now when you have your data stored in a database, because you know that you can't work with data stored in a database with all these softwares. You now bring in SQL to help you communicate with that data stored in a database. But a scientist is heavy on Python and SQL. So if you want to navigate towards that career path, it means you need to start from the right angle, which is data analysis, and you now start coming forward. So note that these are the types of data analysis that we always perform. Descriptive can also be called historical, diagnostic, the predictive, and the prescriptive. Now let's talk about the data analysis process. Let's talk about the data analysis process. Now, I've explained that data analysis is using data to make informed decisions. And data analytics is the tools, the frameworks, the procedures you use to perform data analysis. Now, I want to talk about one, which is the process. We have looked at the tools, which is Excel, Power BI, SQL, and Python, and other tools there. But now it is time to perform data analysis and you want to start working. You came to work on the first day that you get the employment and your boss calls you, Amaka, today we'll be giving you your first trial as a data analyst. Please sit down. When you're ready, we'll send you an email to proceed. Now the data arrived in your table, in your email, with accompanying instruction on how to proceed. You open at the data, you saw 20 columns and 10,000 rows, and you're already sweating under AC. Now you don't need to sweat. You don't need to fear. What you just need to remember is, what process will I use to perform this, conduct this analysis? What process will I use? What steps will I bring in to conduct this analysis? So these are basically process you can use to conduct data analysis. Now, a note of caution here, that this process is not fixed. For me, this is what I use for my own my own work. Every data analyst have their own, or every company, depending on where you work, or depending on the training you had, have their own process. So this is not a fixed process. If you have done this Google Analytics course on Coursera, you will see that they also have their own. I think their own is the ask me question or something like that. So every analyst or every company have their own process. So, but this is what we use. So if I explain it, you will realize that this is almost it. I will try to break it down so that nobody gets confused. Because if you don't break these things down, you realize that as you're proceeding, you hang at some points, because the objective is not clear to you. So the first one there is data understanding. Data understanding. They give you the data. You opened your mail and you're seeing the Excel file staring at you on your screen, and you're looking at 10 columns with 10,000 rows. You're seeing amount, you're seeing region, you're seeing states, you're seeing range number, you're seeing different things that you have not seen before. And you're like, what is this thing all about? I don't even know where to start. The first thing you try to do is understand that data. Understand that data. What is this data all about? Is it data for insurance? Is it data for transportation? Is it data for marketing? Is it data for sales? Is it data for any industry at all? First of all, understand that data. So you can ask your manager, please, this data you're giving me, what is it all about? Which sector has this data? Which company? Because every data emanates from a particular industry. You can't just have data at random. In entertainment, they have their own data. Insurance have their own data. Marketing has their own data. Accounting have their own data. So you need to understand the data. Which sector, which industry is it coming from? Now, when you have understood that this data is coming from, let's say, insurance, it now begins to give you like a guide on how to proceed. Now, since it is insurance, that means all your brain now, all your focus will now be towards the insurance company or insurance sector. That means if you were thinking about marketing before, if you were thinking about sales before, if you were thinking about any other department, you have now removed it from your focus. Your focus is now towards insurance. So any research you will do, any question you will ask will now be based under the insurance sector. So you have understood the data sets. That is the first step. And the second step there is the business understanding. Now that the data you have belongs to a particular business. You know that under insurance we have different business under insurance. We have different companies under insurance. We can have A, B, and C insurance. We can have AO insurance. So we have different businesses under insurance. Now, the data is which business does it belong to? Which business does it belong to? Now, let me give another instance of, let's say you're working in the banking sector. Now, we have different banks. We have UBA, we have Access, we have Diamond Bank, we have different banks. You have data that was given to you. You have understood that, okay, this data that was given to you is under the banking sector. This is a banking data set. You have cleared that one out. Now you need to understand the business where the data is coming from, because you know that the model of Access Bank is not the same thing as First Bank. All these banks, even though that they are under the banking sector, they have their own different business model. GTB has their own business model. FCMB have their own business model. So you need to understand, okay, the business that this data is coming from, what is it all about? The year they founded UBA, it's not the year they founded Access Bank. The same board of trustees or directors in UBA, it's not the same board of trustees in Access Bank or First Bank. So you begin to understand this business I'm about to approach now. What is it all about? What is their business model? What is their objective? What is their mission? What is their problem statement? So when you have understood that particular business and what it entails, what their model is all about, you have cleared the second part. You now go to the third part, which is the problem statement. And the reason why you are given that data set is because they want to solve a problem. They didn't give it to you because they just want to know whether you can do analysis. No. That data was given to you because they want you to solve a particular problem. So what is the problem that the business is trying to solve using that data? UBA cannot just release their data to you to take without them having something that they want to solve. Maybe profit was not fine last year, or maybe a particular department in the bank did not reach their targets, or maybe they are trying to offload workers. It could be anything at all. There must be something that they are trying to solve. That is why they release that data to you. No company can just release data to you without having a problem that they want to solve. The problem can be good or bad. Normally, a problem would always take it to be something bad. But in the domain of analysis, it could be good, it could be bad. Though we call it problem statements, but it could be good, it could be bad. Maybe in the problem statement, they want to increase profits. That it is a good statement. They want to increase profits. Though yes, they reached their target for last year. Maybe their target was 10 billion, and they reached 12 billion. Now they saw that they went past their target by 2 billion. So in the next year, they want to target 15 billion. That is a problem that they want to solve. Yes, it's a good problem because they are making what? Higher profits. But in terms of analysis, we call it problem statements. So when you see problem statements, don't see it in the area of it is something bad or something that wants to disrupt the company. No. It could be something that they want to do to make more profits, to increase sales, to increase revenue. But the term we always use is problem statements. So once you have understood the problem statements, you now understand your objective. What is the objective of this business? So the objective of this, let's say for the banking sector now, the objective of doing this analysis is at the end of the day, UBA is expected to move from 10 billion to 12 billion in revenue. Or at the end of this analysis, UBA is able to find means of expanding their branches in Imo State or in Abia State. So it could be that they have 2 branches in Abia State and they want to expand to other branches inside Abia State. So the objective of this analysis is, after helping with this analysis, it will help the managers of UBA or Access Bank to expand so that they will hire more workers or retain more workers. So first is the data understanding. Understand the data first of all. Because if you don't understand the data, you won't know how to start. It is that understanding that helps you now know how to channel your focus and how to channel your attention. Once you've understood the data sets, you now go into the business understanding. Every business has a data. Now the business that has this data set, who are they? What are they into? If you're being told about Coscharis now, Coscharis Motors, you'll be asking, who is Coscharis? What are they into? If you're being told about Innocent Motors, you're like, who is Innocent? If you're being told about Mohit Records or Marvin's Records, you ask, who is Marvin? Who is Marvin's Records? That is what the business understanding. Don't you understand this business? What are they into? What is their business model? How do they make profit? How do they make revenue? Who are their partners? Who are their customers? You understand the business. You now go to the problems. What are they trying to solve? What is the issue they are trying to solve with this data? What made them bring out this data to you to perform analysis? There must be something behind the reason why they gave you this data set. Now, at the end of the analysis, what is the objective of this analysis? The objective is that they want to beat their competitors. There have been many competitors in the market. The objective is you should help them using this data to find myths to help them outsmart their competitors in the market. That is what the objective. So the reason why you're doing this analysis is the objective of your analysis. Why are you doing this analysis? That is the objective. You now go to the business portion. Now, your business questions will always reflect or revolve around your problem statements. Your business questions will always revolve around your problem statements, because it's a problem statement that came about this particular analysis you're doing. So if the problem statement is Access Bank did not perform well last year, did not reach their targets. Now, the question you could ask is, first of all, what was the target amount? You've asked a business question there. What was their target? And they tell you it's 10 billion. And they'll ask you ask again, how many field workers did you deploy into the market? How many sales personnel, how many marketing personnel did you deploy to the market? How many investments did you undertake? How many loans did you process? How many investors did you approach? How many customers defaulted on their loan? Because these are things that affected you why you did not reach your targets. So your questions will revolve around your problem statement. That problem is where you'll be asking your question. Any question you ask will always be touching on that problem statement. Just like someone tell you that they're having a running stomach, that's the problem. You start asking them, what did you eat? What did you drink? When did they start? So these are problems you ask because they are giving you what a problem. So these are questions you ask based on that problem, so you can know how to solve that particular problem. So note that your business questions always revolves around your problem statements. The next one there is your data cleaning. Now, once you have asked your business questions, you now start your data cleaning. And the reason why I brought in the data cleaning before business questions, some persons will give you this step, data cleaning before business questions. But the reason why I normally place data cleaning after business questions is when you ask a question, it could be that the question you ask, the data you have is not enough to answer that particular question. So let's say you're asking how many investors did Access Bank approach last year? Now that data you have might not have the answer or column for the number of investors that Access Bank approached last year. So you now have to go and look for that particular answer and bring it back to your data sets. Now, if you have cleaned your data and you start asking your business question, and you realize that that data, that column you're looking for is not in that data set, and you go and bring the data set and put it there, that data you're bringing in might have some gaps in it that you need to fix. That means you have to come back again and start cleaning over and over again. Or let's say you have a date column in your data. You have a date column in your data, Now you're asking a question of what is profit in the last 5 years, or what is profit in the last or by months, or by quarter. Now, if you have cleaned your data sets and you now ask a question that is saying what is the profit by months or by quarter, you realize that you need to go back to that date column and start extracting month and start extracting year out from that date column. Those things are part of data cleaning. And you see that you have repeated your steps almost 2 or 3 times. So it is best you ask your business questions. Now, based on those business questions, you now start looking at your data to see if it will help you answer those questions. Because your data should be enough to help you answer your question. If it's not enough, you need to go and ask for more data. So if you are working in an organization and the data you're using is not enough, because you can't ask question outside the domain of that data set. You can't ask question that is not reflective of that data. But if at some point the question you're asking is very, very important for that analysis, but the data you need is not part of the one you have, you can now go and demand for more data. That's when you now make a demand to your manager or to your superiors that they should give you more data to what? Add to what you have. That's where you see people start doing things like a relationship or join. If you have heard about joins or relationship before, you have data scattered in different Excel files or database. You have one in a customer table, you have one in employer table, you have one in sales table, you have one in a profit table. Now you have data scattered in different tables or different Excel files. How do you connect them together now? How do you connect them together? That is where you now start doing join or start doing relationship. Because the data you have at that point was not enough. Now you're given a data and you can't merge it with the one you have, but you want to work with it. You now have to use join or what we call relationship to bring them together so it can help you answer your question. So that's why I always put my business questions before cleaning. But if you see those who are doing cleaning before question, it's still fine. Don't blame it. It's still fine. It's still fine. So after cleaning, we now talk about data visualization and interpretation. We now talk about data cleaning and visualization and the interpretation. Sorry, data visualization and interpretation. So you visualize your data and you now interpret it. So once the data is clean, the next thing you now do is visualization. So visual is just plotting your bar charts, your scatter plots, your histograms, your pie charts. You now interpret it. So interpret it is trying to make your stakeholders or your manager understand why a particular bar is bigger than another bar. That is the data interpretation. So we have data visualization and we have data interpretation. So these are basically for me and for my colleagues. This is the process we follow. I'm not saying it's fixed. It's not fixed. You can see different processes. As you're learning, you can see different. It's just the one that feels natural to you and help you answer your and perform your analysis very fast. Now, after you have visualized and interpret your data, you now move to recommendation and summary. You now move to recommendation and summary. So based on what you have found, you have visualized, you're not interpreting. Now, what are you recommending to the business? Because you're the expert here. You're the consultant that was invited to help this business solve their problem. Now you have asked your question, you have plotted your graph, you have interpreted what you found. What is your recommendation to us? What should we do? That is where that prescriptive now comes up. What are you telling us we should do? AI is about to take us out from the markets. Customers are no longer coming to us to buy things again. What should we do? So that is the recommendation aspect of this process. So after now doing recommendation, you can now move to summary. You now summarize. So just like a 7 or 8-step process, like 8-step process that you take. Some might have 5 process, some might have 3 process. So it depends on where you're working or the team you're working with. Every business have their own process. Even though Access Bank and UBA are the same under the banking sector, they have different business models. So anyone you see is still fine. But for me and my colleagues, these are what we use. And for me, this serves me very well. Any teaching I'm doing, this is what I present. They'll tell me, sir, I saw somewhere in Google and YouTube or Coursera, they were saying about the SMART process or the ASK process. I'm not against it. It depends on the one that works for you. But using that step, do you understand how to go about it? It's not about you saw a process. Can you use it to achieve the desired outcome? So for me, this one serves me to help me achieve my desired outcome. Looking at it, I'm following the step one by one. Because on the day of your presentation, you will still have to go through these steps. You have to introduce the business to your stakeholders. Because your stakeholders does not know about the business. You have to introduce, if it's an investor that's trying to invest in Access Bank, that they dragged to Access Bank to invest. They might not know about Access Bank. Oh, they know that Access Bank is a bank. But what is the business model? Because all these investors try to understand the business model before they will know if they will even invest in you. So if you don't understand the business model, how will you convince the investor when you're trying to recommend or you're even interpreting your analysis and results? So this is a process that I follow strictly. But if you have your own or the one you're using in your place of work or your learning purpose, it's still fine. But it's also good to learn about other people's process. So you try to compare and see which one works best there for you. If you still have your own process, you can still let us know the one you use in your own analysis. Can also help me learn also to learn new things. I'm also open to learning new things. So let's start now. So let's say that you are an analyst now at this particular company, King's E-commerce. So you see that they are explaining King's E-commerce to you. They're trying to explain who is King's E-commerce. They are retail companies that specialize in consumer electronics with stores across the United States. Now they have introduced it to you. Just a simple statement. You have shown that they specialize in what? Consumer electronics, and they have branches across the United States. So that means you can go to San Francisco and see King's E-commerce. Just like ShopRite has different different stores in every part of the country. Or during the days of Mr. Biggs, they have different branches in different parts of the country. So introduce the business to us. Now, despite their strong presence in the markets, the company has been experiencing concerns related to profits and areas to improve on. Now, this is the problem statement. They are experiencing concerns related to profits and they want to improve. The problem is what? Profit related. Now, what are portions that revolves around profit related problems? Lack of customers, lack of visibility, investors, market share. These are things that what revolves around what? Profits. So since based on this problem now, you can start asking questions like, what is your market share of the industry? How many investors do you have? What is your business model? How many branches do you have? How many branches or how many headquarters do you have? How many employees do you have? Is your business, what you sell, is it something that is acceptable to customer? Is it a consumer market or a producer market? Because these are things that revolves around profits. You need to understand these things. So the problem here is what? Profit related, and they want to improve. So once you have asked the question and you have now maybe gotten the visuals and interpret it, you now start telling them ways to improve, which is what? Your recommendation. So you can see that almost everything here are being captured in this first paragraph here. This first paragraph here. You have known the business. You have known their problem. You have known the objective of the analysis. They want to improve. Now you're asking your business question that revolves around the problem statement, which is what? Concerns about profits. You now clean your data. You now plot your graph and you interpret. You now start giving them recommendations based on what you found on the data they gave you. Now, sometimes a business might not really give you data sets. Don't think that everything is all about a company giving you data. They can just tell you their problem and that's all. It's not every time that a company will give you data. I've worked with a brand. My friend referred me to the brand. He was working there and he got the gig, but he was busy. He now said I should help him work on it. I just worked as a contract staff just to help him, not that I was inside the business. Now the manager just came to him one day and told him what was troubling him and left and went for vacation. My friend relaxed now, thinking that later they will send him data. 2 weeks later, the man called him and asked him, "What have you found?" My friend was like, I was waiting for you to give me data now to work with. The man was like, "No, I told you my problem, so go and find data and solve it." And my friend was shocked. That was when we realized that sometimes you might not really get data from a company because not all these companies keep data. You know the Nigerian problem. Not every company keep data. That's why you now start doing survey. You're not seeing companies sending questionnaire to people to fill. You as an analyst will now design a questionnaire or design a survey and start sending to people that you feel have direct connection to that business. So if it's a consumer related business, you now design questionnaires or survey and start giving feel I can buy that product that business is selling. That was my first time to know that a company might not give you data to work with. That was my first experience with a company not giving data. I was shocked, to be honest. I was like, so this thing can happen. So don't think that it's every time that a company can give you data. No. What matters is their problem statements. So with that problem statement, you can now start asking questions. Now, based on that question you're asking, you now know the kind of data you will now bring in for your analysis. So on the second paragraph, it's just saying to address these challenges and increase profits, as an analyst at e-commerce, King-commerce, through effective visuals and incentive analysis, you are to gain valuable insights. So this is just telling you things you should do. But the key point is in this first paragraph. The key point is in this first line here. This is where it starts. When you miss the data understanding, business understanding, and problem statements, I don't know what else you're doing. Once you have missed those three things, because the data set, if you don't understand it, what are you trying to do? If you don't know what is a cost per capita, what are you trying to do in that data? You don't know what is let's say maybe you're doing a accounting work and you are seeing a NPV, or this net present value or present value. You don't know about it. What are you now doing in that analysis? Because how will you interpret it when you're trying to present or communicate to your audience or to your stakeholders? The business, if you don't understand the business, how will you now channel that analysis to their problem? So those three things are the first things you need to know as an analyst before you even start thinking about visuals. The visuals are secondary. The visuals interpretation are secondary. Before you interpret something, sure you understand what you want to interpret. Before you visualize, sure you understand what you want to visualize. If you understand it, how will you visualize it? So that's it for the process of an analyst and how the portion sometimes comes up. So this is the objective that we have, to analyze sales and profitability trends to identify opportunities for improvement and optimize business strategies. Now, this can be a data sample. This can serve as a data sample. Today is just to introduce this theoretical part to you. For the second and final day, we will now give you the practical aspect of it using Excel and possibly Power BI. That was the reason for this bootcamp. First of all, we give you the theory aspect, because if you don't know the theory, you don't know the reasoning behind why you should use Excel, why you should use Power BI. Not every project requires you to use Power BI. It could be just a simple Excel problem and you're done. Not every problem requires you to start bringing in the database, start bringing in Python, start bringing in SQL. No. It could be just a simple plot graph here, and you're done. But if you don't understand the theory behind it, how will you now approach the question, approach the problem? So this is a data sample. So if this data was given to you, you now try to understand this data. So looking at this data now, on your own, can you try to understand this? Can you just kind of on your own guess what this data is all about? Looking at the order, the year, the order date, ship mode. On your own, then can you just, okay, let me just make a guess of what this data is all about. That is how it starts. You try to understand the data. I say that this data is for a shipping company. Something like maybe it can be Jumia, it can be Konga. So you have seen order dates, you have seen ship dates, you have seen ship modes. So you try to understand the data sets and know where it is coming from. So this, you can classify this data now under the retail industry, or retail industry if possible. So this data sample is here for you. Now, we have what is called a data dictionary. We have what is called a data dictionary. Now, a data dictionary is just basically a document, a PDF document or a Word document that gives you the column names and a description of what the column stands for. Now, looking at this data sample now, it was thrown at you, and you're being asked, what is this segment column? Now, for the first 3 seconds or 5 seconds, you might pause and try to make sense of what it is. And because the data does not emanate from you, you don't know what the segment is all about. You have the ship mode, you have the order date. You don't really understand what this column is. So what you have what is called, you have So you have what is called a data dictionary. So this is basically a document that explains the column and a description of what it is. So you can see here we have the row ID. We have the row ID here, a unique identifier for each row in the data set. You have the ship date, the date when the order was shipped to the customer, the ship mode, the shipping method for the order, second class, standard class, the segment, the customer segment to which this customer belongs to. So they classify the customer either consumer or a corporate or home office. The city where the customer is located, the country where the order was placed. So the country is where the order was placed. The city is where the customer is based. So this document helps you to understand your columns and what it represents. Every analysis, every data comes with a data dictionary. Because if it doesn't, how will you know how to start? So imagine you studied accounting. Now you're working as an analyst, and the company you're working with is a biotechnology company. Now a work came in, and you're being given data that is related to biotechnology. and you have accounting experience.
Hi, fine.
Yeah.
This Chinyere.
Okay.
Yeah, please can we start taking questions and call it a night so we can resume back tomorrow?
All right.
Just round up so we can take
I
questions.
I dropped a question in the chat that the chat box is not active. I don't know why it's locked.
Yeah, people are attending. Can they can use the WhatsApp group to ask questions, or they can. So you can stop teaching now so that they can ask their questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So, guys, I think I was going deep into it and I forgot the time was going. So, today is our first day in class. Thank you for coming. We'll see tomorrow. But before we go, I will take questions. We still have more to discuss. Tomorrow we'll continue. So, if you have a question, you can please
Sorry,
ask.
sorry. Yeah, please, they should fill the attendance form on the WhatsApp group. So those that are here, they should fill the attendance form on the WhatsApp group so that they will have access to the recording and the materials for the program.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, any question, please?
How far have we gone with the explanation of the data stuff? I don't think you finished. She stopped you.
Yes. I think the time. I was not looking at my time. We still have tomorrow to continue, please. Um,
No, no, no.
the
What
time.
what you promised to do tomorrow is different. Well, this is my question. I
Okay.
understand this is quite deep, and I'm very sure it's something that we will be able to do. But my question is, how many of these tools are we meant to learn to be able to work as a data analyst? Like you said something about SQL, you said something about Excel. So, what are the tools that we need to learn? I like the fact that you're so in depth. And another question, that's the first thing. The second question is, if I join your program that is starting on the 25th of this month, and I'm not able to finish within 3 months your own allotted time, or probably I'm not able to have an in-depth understanding of what I'm supposed to do within the your own given time, what happens? What happens to me? You're just going to stop or what?
China, do you have any question or should I go on?
No problem, I can answer the question.
Okay.
Okay, so all our courses, good evening, ma. All our courses are recorded, so from A to Z, all right, and we have where we call Google Classroom. Now, as a student, when you mix any of our classes, we'll send the videos direct to your email, right? And again, trust me, there is no how you will not be able to understand if you really want to learn this thing. Now, look at the how the tutor is taking you, and this is just an hour or hour 30 minutes program. Now, imagine if you're learning this for 3 hours, like 3 hours, there is no how you will not understand it. And our courses are not just Saturdays and Sundays. We do meet somehow Thursday during the week to ensure that the students learn. And our courses are not recorded videos where we send the videos to you and say, go and watch this video. They are instructor-led programs. So the way Ifan is taking you is the way all the facilitator will take you from the beginning of the program to the end of the program. Now note, the program is 5 months, not 3 months. The program is 5 months. Now 4 months for programs like live programs and 1 month for internship program. So imagine you learning this thing for 5 months, there's no how. But in case life happens and you decided to defer your program, that works. You can defer your program, and when you are ready, you can come back and continue your program. Is that okay, ma?
Yeah, it's okay, but I think the first question was not answered. What are the tools we're going to be learning? Are we just going to be learning
Yeah,
SQL? Then you,
I'll,
okay, and you
I'll
can't
answer that
say
one.
that it's not possible for me not to know it. You don't know my ability. I've personally learned a few of the tools, but I think the only challenge I'm having is the ability to keep remembering my queries when I do the queries when I move to the CTE in my SQL. So that's why I'm doing this, not because I don't have basic understanding of what I'm doing, but I'm like, okay, if I should join the paid class and I still, for some reasons, struggle with because the facilitator has said a lot. This are so many. There are many. They do different things. They are for different organizations. They've got a lot of it's quite complicated. So my point is, if I'm still struggling, do I have someone who's going to hold my hand in the journey and will not leave me until I'm able to do everything that is expected of me in order to work and start working from home excellently?
Okay, let me answer that. Now, all our facilitators are well dedicated tutors here to help you excel in this world of data. Now, when you register for our programs, there's what we call, even after your program, there's what we call post-training support. Now, this program is scheduled to last for 5 good months, right? 5 good months. Now, let's say that you are struggling to learn. There's all our facilitators available to assist you. That's one. The question is, are you willing to help yourself? If you're willing to help yourself, they are willing to help you. But you know the program that's supposed to last for 5 months and you want to take it for 1 year. So we don't take that. I have to be very sincere with you. All right. So we don't take that. But after your training and you are working on something and you have issues, we are 100% available to assist you. That's where the place of post-training support comes in. You get a job after your training and you are finding it difficult to do some of the jobs. The facilitators, as far as you do this program with Amdoranalytics, we are ready to assist you. All right. So one of our students got a job. That's the month of December, first week of December. And we are the one that helped her to do the first project in her place of work. So that is where we fully support you. But the case that you are learning, you are struggling, we are here to assist you, right? But the question is, are you willing to assist yourself? Because there is a place of development, self-development in the place of learning. Okay. Now, if after taking you, your facilitator, after taking you, and you drop your laptop and waiting for the next day, next week to open your laptop again, trust me, you find it difficult to excel. You find it difficult to catch up things. These are functions. You have not been there before. Okay, let's assume you've done any of this program before, but if you did not continue practicing it, there's no how you be 100% okay. Now, I've been in the field of tech for over 7 years now, and I can tell you there are some things I'm still learning. Okay, I'm still learning. There's a place of there's a place of consistency in your growth. For you to grow far, there has to be consistency. That is where when you join our program, that's what we call 90 days growth challenge. Of course, there's accountability partner when you join the program. We try to pair you with some of your classmates so that you guys should hold your hands, and the facilitators will there to assist you as well. If it is whether we assist you, that one is 101% okay. So we're going to assist you. We're going to make sure that you learn, but you are going to help yourself as well, because there is a place of self-development. When we give you assignments, projects to work on, and if you did not work on them, you did not do assignments, and how do you want to grow? Okay, so you are going to help yourself, and we are going to help you as well. So the tools.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. The tools that you're going to be learning.
Okay.
Okay, if I do want to take up from there.
Let me take it up from there. Yeah. All right. So thank you, Ma, for your question. I do love your dedication to this. So the tool you'll be learning is, like I always said, Excel is compulsory. As an analyst, you can't do without Excel. You can't do without Excel. It's always there. The next one is Power BI or Tableau. So the reason for, I think the industry is there's too much noise in the industry on tools to learn. But when you want to learn a tool, what you always look at is the demography where you are and the tool that's obtainable in that demography. So Power BI has the largest market share for now when it comes to visualization. Power BI has the biggest market share. So Excel, Power BI, and SQL is what you need to learn. Please forget about Python. If you're hearing about Python or any other tool, please forget about it. As an analyst, Excel.
What about
Power
Tableau?
BI, if I'm telling you, Power BI and Tableau are the same thing. If you learn Power BI, you can use Tableau. There's no difference between them.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you learn Power BI, automatically you can use Tableau. It's just like someone that knows how to operate a phone. If you can operate Samsung, you can operate iPhone. It's just a matter of few 3-4 days. You have mastered the commands and you have navigated yourself. So don't be put away by all the industry noise. All those things are marketing. Companies will try to market their product to get customers. So leave the marketing. We are giving you what is obtainable in the industry. On the second day, on the last day, I will show you a website that will give you a list of things you need to learn. And that one is for the last day. I'll keep it for the last day. For those who will be on the last day, I'll give you a website that will give you tools you need to master as an analyst. SQL, Excel, and Power BI is enough for you as an analyst. So that's where I will stop for now. Any other question, please?
None from me anymore. I just need to say a very big thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ma, for coming around. You really made this class lively.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We understand, and we keep up with this.
Yeah, thank you very much. We will still meet tomorrow by 7. So if you have time, please, we beg you, come again tomorrow. We continue. So tomorrow we finish the slide and we go into a practical demonstration of just a simple practical demonstration on how to approach data analysis using data. In today we just did the theory, just talking through the theory. So tomorrow we'll use an example of how to do it in Excel. I'll show you how to do it in Excel, and also how to plot your graph in Excel. Just a basic something that you can see. So you can begin to appreciate what you will do as an analyst when you join us for our program. Thank you very much. Any other question, please, or any observation? All right. Since there's no more, is there any question? Okay, you're saying thank you. All right. So since there's no other question, we'll call it a night. So we'll see tomorrow, same time. If you have more questions, please, you can still ask in the group. Like my boss said, the form for attenders is in the group chat. So when you get to the group chat, just please put your details there. It will help us send you the materials and the video for this day 1, or possibly at the end of the bootcamp, we'll send everything at once to you. But please put your information in that Google form. If you have questions, please ask. And again, please don't listen to anybody that is not from Amdoranalytics. That group, some scammers are there. So if there are anybody that's chatting you about anything that is not from Amdoranalytics, if the person is not an admin or have the logo of Amdor, please don't entertain that person. We are on the lookout for such persons and we'll remove them. If your person approach you, please still report to us, like someone reported in the group, and we removed the person. Please help us to serve you well. Thank you very much. So we'll see you all tomorrow, same time.
Thank you, sir. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Yeah,
Have a
bye.
wonderful night.
Take
Bye.
care.